We begin with what's expected to be tariff week and the impact on an already somewhat jittery economy, which could be significant. Retaliatory tariffs on countries who have imposed their own tariffs on U.S. goods are planned for Wednesday. And on Thursday, the president says he will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made vehicles coming into the U.S. These and other tariffs are in addition to those already imposed on some of our closest allies, like Canada and Mexico. Of course, there are tariffs on China as well. Our new CBS News poll reflects some of that underlying economic anxiety. So we bring in our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, I'm going to be very scientific here. On the economy, what gives?
Well, we know, good morning, Major. We know that people still say the economy is bad. We know that prices and inflation are the top reason they give for why. So in this poll, we find that the president's approval for specifically handling the economy and inflation are both ticked down. Now, let's talk about these tariffs because, look, it's early in the administration, so I think the key gauge is what do people think he's trying to do? And here we see a mismatch. They think he's putting too much focus on trying to put in tariffs and not enough focus on trying to lower prices. Now, the mismatch there is the administration argues, well, that'll have positive impact, right? So I asked, what do you think will happen when tariffs go into effect? People think in the short term that it'll raise prices, but also in the long term, there's a lot of people who think tariffs will raise prices. So the administration hasn't quite connected the dots on that argument yet. Now, what happens next is you get people think with uncertainty in the stock market that his policies are having a negative effect there. I should add this. He does not entirely own this economy yet. Speaking of it being early, right? I asked, who's to blame for inflation, right? And that he shares with Joe Biden still. But one of the things to watch going forward is expectations. Coming into the administration, before he took office, a lot of people thought that Trump's policies would make them financially better off. You ask that question today, and far fewer Americans think that. Even far fewer Republicans think that, and that expectations game is key.
In the data, there's still some buoyancy for the president. He's not collapsing by any stretch of the imagination, and it appears one of the reasons is satisfaction with aggressiveness on immigration.
Absolutely right. This is a story about balance, and the things that are going well in the public mind for him is his handling of immigration, which is still net positive, and his deportation program is still net positive and popular. People say, well, they don't think it'd be okay if there are legal residents who were mistakenly detained in this program, although there are some in his base who do. But you look at other aspects of this, like cuts to the federal workforce. That continues to be split. But you then also see a majority of people saying, well, that might impact programs that they care about. Even over a third of Republicans think that may happen. Again, a key measure to watch. And look, in terms of how this ties back then to that uncertainty in the economy, that could have an impact worth watching too.
One of the conversations certainly that has become more intense in the last couple of weeks here in Washington is the clash of the administration. Sometimes it looks intentionally with Congress on executive powers and with the courts on executive powers. Do we have any data that talks about where the country is about what looks like something that is really getting to be confrontational?
In terms of judicial review, like you mentioned, the majority of people say, yeah, judges should have the ability to review a president's actions, but there is some talk on the right as well, should they try to impeach judges who rule against the president? And while most people don't say so, there is a bulk of Republicans who would favor such efforts. And that's, again, part of this larger push, especially from his base on items like this. Look, other things, DEI, ending DEI programs, marginally popular, but not cutting off funding to organizations that still go ahead and practice it.
One of the interesting factors in all of these is where independents are. And independents are a little bit more troubled about the confrontation, executive powers, than Republicans.
They are. And again, this speaks to a current politics, which is, are you pushing for things that the base wants? One of the things about the Republican base right now is that they say that those immigration efforts are just important in their evaluations as the economy is, and that sets up one of the key differences.
Anthony Salvanto, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Major.